All right. You should be live. But here's the trick.
Mm-hmm.
We're currently being archived.
Mm-hmm.
But no one can see us yet.
Amazing.
Because the post doesn't go live for another minute. So we have to sit here awkwardly. Oh, there we go.
Don't say anything?
Yeah, basically. Where is that coming from?
Don't know.
You?
Sure.
Okay. Got to get my little rundown of things I want to talk about. You know, people really do want tomorrow coffee.
No.
They do, though.
It's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, I should get...
Yeah. Should you, though?
Herb.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh. For some reason, those look like soy sauce packets to me, and I was super confused.
These are patches.
Like, what's going on?
These are the new patches. We haven't really talked about them too much on air, so I figured we'd take a moment to talk about these. I also want to cover some of the show change stuff that we've done. Let's see here. Yep. What I need to do is... Oh, you're in the chat. Yay. This is the awkward moment as I work on the tech that we've already gone live.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're inverted hockey sticks. Upside down hockey sticks.
Yeah, but we haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with something to say, so I said that.
Yep.
Other than, like...
Let me find the... Why, hello. Hello, Ted Bear. Hello. Okay. You'd think that I would be... Where is the... Yes, here we go. Boop.
It's super confusing to see my face on this camera, but to know that this camera's
I
on.
know, right? So you want to look over here.
I want to look over here.
But we actually have to look over
it
here.
should be over here.
All right. So,
just so you know.
Hello for everyone very slowly joining us. A lot of these we do...
It's early yet on a Sunday? Boy.
Yeah, it's early on a Sunday. We didn't do a really great job promoting this particular one. And now I can't find the...
No surprise there.
I know. I suck at promotion. Well, and that's actually another thing that I want to do better
I know.
with in 2019. Let's see here.
Wait, should I act surprised at all these things that I already know?
Yeah, you should. You should. Like, this is the first time you've ever heard any of them. I think that's what needs to happen.
The thing is that, typically speaking, it sometimes is.
I know.
So...
Because I'm a terrible human being. I don't share anything with anyone until, like, I make it public. And then everyone's like, oh, that's what we're doing now. No.
Well, yeah, except that we all say, oh, that's what we're doing now. And you go, yeah, but we're not doing that.
Yes, sometimes.
And so that's really annoying.
Yeah. All right.
You know what that makes you?
Awesome.
Untrustworthy is what that makes you.
All right. So, first up, I'm reevaluating all of our Patreon rewards because I don't view Patreon as a donation platform, like a lot of.
Even though that's what Patreon looks at itself as?
No, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
They say they're a way to crowdfund your favorite creators. And that's exactly how I view it. It's a way to help crowdfund the show. It's not a donation. You get something in return.
Sure.
One of the things you get in return, by the way, is the show.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how that works. Without cash money, we can't have these lights. We can't have this room that doesn't have heat, so we had to buy a heater. The cameras.
This room is amazing.
Yeah. So we can't afford a lot, and so that's why we're in this particular building. it's, you know, it's not great, but it's a big open. Well,
it's not.
It's a big open space that has what we need, and so we need a low-cost, big open space. So one of the things I want to do with the Patreon reward change, I should also actually, I'm not even monitoring my audio. I should make sure. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, am I spiking everything? Because I probably am.
No, you're good. You look
okay,
good.
Great.
Although I should put.
You know me though.
I have to run it all myself. What I want to do is I want. Oh, by the way, hello, Kevin McCoy, hello, and Paul, hello, welcome. So one of the things I want to do is change rewards. I've up until now been pretty much against having any sort of physical reward. I have crazy old man eyebrows.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't want to have a physical reward is because it gets super, super sketchy as to like who gets what and when, right? So we aren't like Kickstarter where you contribute once and you get a thing and then you're done.
Right.
We are recurring. So if we give out physical rewards, do I have to give you that reward every time you contribute?
Right.
Like, how does that work out? And until recently, it was extremely difficult to figure out how any of that would work. But Patreon has a new relationship manager thingy and reward manager thingy. And what that allows us to do is say, okay, well, when you've contributed X amount and you've crossed a certain threshold, you will be eligible for different things. And the first things that we're working on are these patches. And I realize they're tiny, and I don't have a screenshot, I'm sorry, but I'll see if I can't post a better shot of these in Patreon so you all can see it. These are the Orbit 12 patches. We have not quite 100 of them because I wanted to do a small run just to make sure that we liked them. I think I generally like them. There are 12 dots across the top. The first 6 dots are gray, indicating the first 6 years that we were Space Vidcast. The next 6 dots are, well, they're pips. We call them pips after Star Trek. So the next 6 pips are white for the 6 years that we were Tomorrow. And then 1 pip is actually in the shape of a star. And that is the year that our original director of the show, CAF, Adam Yoakum, passed away. And so that's kind of just a nice little reminder of the person who helped us found this show and get it started from almost the very beginning. I think he was
with us on the previous show. He was with us. He was one of our people in the chat room on Ustream for Technology Evangelist.
He was in the chat room, but he didn't work on the show.
No, but I mean,
right.
he
followed
us from Technology Evangelist to Space Vidcast.
Yeah, that's correct. We knew him for a while, so we wanted to honor him, and so that's kind of what we've done is in the patches we've added that star.
Because this is YouTube, I can't push comments.
Yeah, we're not going to be pushing comments on screen. Although they should, if I did this right, they should play back in real time. So if you're watching this on Patreon, if you go to the YouTube page on the right-hand side, I think it will actually show you the comments.
So Kay McCoy asks, oh, cool, so X, quote-unquote, amount total over lifetime?
Yeah, that's the idea. So, your total, and actually, by the way, for those who don't know, that's actually how the Patreon slates work right now.
Total over lifetime.
It's.
So, if you have been a ground support from the very beginning, that we've had ground support, for instance, and by now you've done $10 per episode, does that mean you move up?
Well, you wouldn't do $10 per episode.
No. Well, that's what over lifetime.
You would have done $10 total, not $10 per episode.
Oh, sorry, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So you would not move. No. So what happens is the first classification is the reward that you've signed up for. So you have to be an escape velocity citizen in order to be eligible to be on the escape velocity slates.
Right.
So then what we do is we pull everyone that's an escape velocity citizen. And you have to have a current account that is not past due something, right?
Sure.
And then we sort by lifetime contribution.
That's the order on that slate.
That's the order on the slate.
Not that you change slates.
Correct. You don't change slates.
I was thinking the other. Okay.
No. So you're ordered in the slate based on your lifetime contribution to the show.
Okay.
So if you want to be the very, very first slot, you have a couple ways to do that. You can contribute an obscene amount of money. By the way, some people do give us a lot of money, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
So if you did a lump sum in even just ground support, but if the top ground support person over the course of the lifetime has given us $30, but you make a one-time contribution of $40, then you would be the top in ground support.
Potentially, if that was the top number.
Right.
So a lot of people have been on ground support for quite a while, so
No, I know.
those numbers are big, but yes.
As an simple, easy,
or the other thing you could do is
if
you've been escape velocity for a really long time, but you want to be at the very, very top of orbital, you can simply decrease your pledge or change your reward to orbital.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, everything that you did under escape velocity still applies to your account.
Right,
so
right.
your lifetime stuff still applies to orbital. So even though you're down a slate, you'll
all of a sudden we have a bazillion ground supporters.
I know, right?
Sorry. Like, that's a good, easy hack on that, though.
Well, it is, except that, at each time we change slates, the typeface gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it actually becomes harder to find your name.
Yeah.
So, unless you're, of course, at the top slot. So anyway, that's how that works.
Right.
I actually thought that was the most fairest way to do it.
Yeah,
As opposed to alphabetical, like, if you're contributing... Hi, Dada!
Hello,
We have a Dada.
Duda.
Dada wants to know... Dada, you look hungover for some reason. Hello, miniature human!
What up, yo?
Another... Hi!
Hi!
I had another one just peek around the corner.
I know you guys can't see, so apologize. We're also not going to force any children on camera because that's just ridiculous.
I'm scary, I know.
But we have a mini and a micro Dada in-house.
Those are actual standards, by the way.
Yeah.
They're IEEE standards, the mini and micro Dadas.
Yeah. You can look them up. It's like 14 layers down, but it's there.
Stand for Liberty is asking if YouTube is the only place to chat. Right now it is. I'm trying out YouTube's chat playback feature, and you're my guinea pigs, so thank you. So anyhow, point is, that is one thing. So we already sort on the slates by total amount contributed to the show over a lifetime. And so even if you contribute, let's just say you wanted to contribute a lot in Escape Velocity and you contributed $50 per episode, if you had never contributed before, it's going to...
She's just got her finger in her ear, and it's like not coming out. We realize it's cold, so if you want to push the heater that way for them, that's totally fine too.
It's freezing.
It's not freezing.
We're distracted by cute children.
They're amazing.
Anyhow, blah, 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 that point. But also, using that same system, we can now say, okay, well, you've contributed more than X dollar value. And I don't know what that X dollar value is going to be for these. It's going to be something probably $10 or more over the lifetime, because each one of these is $2 and something our cost plus mailing costs, and then we got to be able to do it internationally. And so that's all going to be able to...
She's so tiny. And the seat's
she
low
barely,
enough, like
barely
trying
above
to grab the food
desk.
off the table.
You know that's bigger than your face, right?
And she will eat the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's going to
Good
be a
girl.
giant poop.
It doesn't matter. That's like the same sandwich I had. I know. I know. In real life, we're big and scary. When we're on a TV screen, we're much smaller. It's fine.
Yeah. We're still fascinating, though. She's still fascinated by us. Well, was fascinated by us. All right.
Short attention span.
So, this is the first reward. Sorry. Super. This is the first reward that we're looking to mail out. Like I said, we have about 100 of them. We'll order more. We actually are doing something cool with 10 of them. I'm not able to talk about that just yet, but we do have some plans for some of these. I don't know if that will be an ongoing thing that we'll be able to do or what the deal is. The other thing I wanted to know is, so these have the iron-on backing. So if you want to put Velcro on the back, you could do that. You could iron it into Velcro.
You can make it a magnet. You can make it a patch. You can put it on a sweater.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. But do you want the cast and crew of TMRO to sign these before we send them to you, or should we just send them to you as is?
Well, we can also
or should
have
that be
a
a
little
reward level above it
thing, and we can all sign those.
Oh yeah, should we sign not the patch but like a piece of paper as
right,
a thank you?
Because a lot of us trying to sign that tiny little thing is just
that's
ridiculous.
Not gonna work. But yeah, a piece of paper like a thank you for you, and then actually signing them.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea. Okay, cool. I like that.
Great. See, the thing is, if you just talk to me about these things, I can solve them for you.
Astro YYZ, will you ship overseas? Yeah, we're a worldwide show.
Yeah, for sure, because that just seems silly that we wouldn't do such a thing, particularly for the amount of supporters that are outside of the U.S. We're not trying to be exclusive. I think 9 times out of 10, like me, for instance, right? Like I grew up on a certain system, and and I grew up with a certain way of thinking, and I'm trying to expand all of those fun things. I still can't quite get the conversion of miles and kilometers, but I'm getting better. Yeah, I don't see why not.
A certificate
there's really
of support.
No
K. McCoy, certificate of support. Something
nice.
along those lines. I think it just needs to be like a humble and heartfelt gratitude that we, like, just letter that we send with the patch. I think that, and there's going to be an initial push. We'll probably work our way backwards, right? So we'll work our way from escape velocity, and then, when we run out of patches, start running out of patches, we'll order some more, kind of do that. So this is just the first item. It seems to me like if this is something we're going to do, we should have different tiers, right? So maybe this is, I don't know, a lifetime contribution of 50, but 100, I don't know what the number is. We'll figure that out, though. But then at a top level, it seems like when you contribute more than $1,000 over the lifetime to the show, that's a good chunk of money, right? I want to have challenge coins made that have on one side the TMRO space emblem over like Mars or Moon, and then on the other side the TMRO typeface over, again, opposite Mars or Moon, right? Whatever the other side
Mars
didn't have.
on one side, Moon on the other.
Mars
is what
on
you're
one
trying
side,
to say?
Moon. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
One with the TMRO emblem and one with the TMRO typeface on either side, and then another thank you letter that we sign, maybe in blood on that one.
Yeah, blood. That's
actually there are people that will immediately qualify for that, like
for the blood.
For the blood.
Okay.
For the $1,000 lifetime contribution. Like they will, the moment we release that as a reward, we will have to send.
You give blood.
I'm not letting.
You don't. Okay.
That's Jared's job.
That is Jared's job.
Oh, Tim McConnell, simpler one, lower one would be laptop stickers. We already have those. That's a good idea. We should make it so that items we already. This is an interesting idea.
Watch Ben think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is you're in real time watching decisions be made.
So great.
What if we got rid of the swag store as it sits today, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to process? Because when you make an order, you expect your order to be processed really quickly, but
it's not going to be.
It's not going to be. Once it's mailed, it's fine, but like us getting to the order can sometimes take weeks before I actually have a free moment to actually process something as simple as stickers. But when it's a reward, like there's no expectation of time, right? If you've crossed that threshold, you're not like, I expect my thing to be processed within the next 24 hours. It's whenever, like if we do that once a month, if I set a schedule of once a month, that's good enough. I think most people would especially since most people aren't even expecting it, right? There's not like, oh, I've crossed that threshold, like, blah, blah, blah. So maybe we kill the swag store, and we only have, like, the only way to get stickers and whatnot is through contribute. See, but if people are excited about the show and want to just get some stickers, I feel like they should be able to just get some stickers.
I feel like that, too.
All right, well, that was a bad idea. Never mind. I take it all back.
Great idea.
I talked it out, and I decided no.
Okay.
I'm going to do this.
How much for a trip on New Glenn?
Whatever. Well, I'll say 1 million in total contributions. Well, I mean, I still have to pay for the ticket on New Glenn, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So different things. Challenge coin, I'm actively looking into. The patches we already have, obviously. We're doing other cool things with that. We'll do some signed letters. I think that's going to be nice. And, excuse me.
Astro YYZ says, wouldn't consider a third-party kind of store, so you don't have to worry about it, like Redbubble.
We tried that a while ago, and I'm not opposed to it if we could find one that has product that's not crappy. Like, I would prefer sell nothing than sell crappy product, if that makes sense.
And I believe it's Johnny Spacer, Stand for Liberty, says, what about finding a good drop shipper?
Yeah, but we still have to process the order on our side. So
CPU 2KY or 2K6. That's hard to say. I apologize.
Yep.
Says, how can I find out how much I've funded? What level you're at?
That's a really good question.
Particularly if you want to jump levels.
So I can tell you.
Individually, or like, is there a way to like?
Hang on, I have another personal Patreon account that I use for backing Disney things. It seems inappropriate for TMRO to back a Disney thing.
I mean, yes and no.
Because then it looks like TMRO's paying for a Disney thing, which is not the case. I
know, but yes. Can you be TMRO Ben? Or Ben Morrow?
Ben Morrow, that's funny.
Thank you.
All right, I'll click this link because Patreon's all like, oh, I don't understand who you are.
Right. Marty the Martian's asking about T-shirts, jackets, windbreakers.
So we have T-shirts, but I don't like them, so we haven't put them in the store.
He has really, I mean, he doesn't have like crazy high standards, but he does have relatively high standards. No, but to be fair, as Dutta is scoffing at the things that I'm saying at the moment, what Ben wants is he wants a decent enough quality at a low enough price that it makes it affordable to the majority of people possible. So the problem there is he doesn't want to sell a $40 T-shirt because $40 T-shirts are totally stupid.
It seems pompous, right? It seems pretentious.
But he wants it to be like a $40 T-shirt quality shirt. So that's the problem, right? So getting a T-shirt done in something that feels good, something that looks good, something that doesn't shrink, where the print quality is good, and keeping it like $20 or under is really, really difficult. So that's the issue.
You know.
So it's not like he's against all of those things. He's actually, Stand for Liberty. Yeah, Cafe Press has crappy products. Yeah, they do. Zazzle has also crappy products, but like, why do that then? Because the last thing we want, literally, is to put our name, our baby, right, on something that looks crappy or falls apart easily, or you don't want to give that as a gift. You don't want to wear it. You don't want to use it. You don't want, and like, we also don't need like a bunch of TMRO stuff in a landfill, right? Like, all of those things reflect us, who we are, like that includes you guys, and what we all stand for, right? So trying to find something, again, that is of a decent enough quality at a low enough price so it's most affordable to the majority of people it's a really fine balance. And stickers are relatively easy and relatively cheap. Patches are relatively easy, relatively cheap. But as soon as you start getting into T-shirts and bags and windbreakers and stuff, and yeah, I personally would love to have something like that. Even we don't make it just for us, right, because we want to make sure that whatever we have is available to you as well. Does that kind of make any sense?
Yeah, I think you summed it up quite well. I think
that's exactly my thought process on that.
And Marty the Martian, you're not wrong. Ben, this is purple. I asked for plum. There's also that.
That happened with the patches, actually. Like, I asked for a dark purple. I gave them the exact CMYK value, and they couldn't really do it effectively. So we were like, nope, just go to black. And then I had them try like the default purple, and that looked awful.
Tim O'Connell's asking if it's worth poking Tim Dodd about his new store.
I have poked Tim Dodd about his new store.
He was also like taking a lot of time to set up his new store as well.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I don't have right now, especially before Demo Mission 1. I have basically everything but time. So swag is something that we want to get into. So for now, I think swag will be, for the most part, relegated to you, the citizens of tomorrow, as rewards, as thank yous for helping us do certain things. And it's not going to be huge things like windbreakers and shirts, but definitely stickers, patches, challenge coins, other cool things that we can think of. Certainly leave your comments here on YouTube, on this channel, or on the Patreon page. Let me know ideas.
Or in community.
Or in or in community. This is more of a citizens-only thing for now.
I suppose, but like...
Once we hit the store proper, then I think that goes to community. But for now, this is more of a kind of behind-the-walled garden sort of thing.
That's fair.
Another change that has already started, you may have noticed, started 2 weeks ago, I think. Excuse me. That probably didn't work. I probably just coughed into your microphone. Was we've essentially killed After Dark, Long Live After Dark. We now start streaming for you, the citizens of tomorrow, at 30 minutes prior, so 17:30 UTC. You get to see the pre-show where we're like going over the stories we're going to talk about, the order of things, the timing of the show, what we expect to generally happen, the guest that's going to be on, kind of going through the steps with the guest and introducing them to the show, making that communication with the guest, us just dorking around on set, right? It's very like super casual. I don't know how else to describe it. Just like casual, almost as if the cameras aren't even on. We don't interact with you at all at that point. It is pre-game. Yeah, thank you, Dada. There will be no interaction with the community at that point. While we are live, we are This is your view inside of the pre-show and what it takes to get the show started. Then we go in through the show itself, and then we go into After Dark. And that entire clip is archived and made available for you on Patreon immediately. So you can watch the pre-show, the full live show, and the post-show, and that includes the in-between space and science portion and all of science as well. Basically moving forward. So instead of posting After Dark after the fact, you're just going to get the whole thing. The entire archive. This is born out of a couple things. One, I don't think After Dark is a really good early access to After Dark. People who watched live already had access to that. Also, you can just go back if you have the YouTube link, you can go back in time to YouTube. Also, if you had the Periscope link, you can just what is that reward to you? You're not getting anything that anyone else could get.
Back in the day, I think it was a little bit different for a number of different reasons. One of which was what we're doing right now was a little bit more how After Dark kind of was. You bounced a lot of ideas off of the community in general, that sort of thing. It was part of the conversation that
After Dark was a driver of the process.
Yeah, After Dark was a driver of the process, as Dada says. That's kind of what it was. But then on top of that, exactly as you're saying, there are so many more people now who can get access to it. It's not as exclusive as we want it to be, and not that it's super exclusive per se, in so much as when you're trying to call it a reward, if everyone can have it, it's not much of a reward.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep, you got it. You got it. So I think the reward here instead is we're no longer going to post to After Dark because it really is just us dorking around, and I don't see a huge value to that publicly. But you are going to get the pre-show, the show, and everything. You as a contributor, you get to see the raw stream in a full archived, unedited form every week. Whether you take value in that or not, you get it, right? And that's going to occur to all tiers. How do I want to word that? It occurs to all ground support and above tiers. I say it that way because there's actually a legacy tier that does still get rewards called Plus. I don't remember. It was the 1 penny per thing,
right.
which we can no longer control on Patreon. We've actually unmarked it. You can't subscribe to it anymore. They actually are still in the name slate, so they do still get the rewards that they originally signed up for. I plan on continuing that, at least for now.
Right.
Because there are still active subscribers there, but I won't be adding any new objects to that tier.
That's
if
fair.
That makes sense.
Astro YYZ says, I guess I like After Dark for different reasons. I like the slightly more quote-unquote unfiltered talk.
I mean, it's still there, and you'll still get it, right? So it's not going away. It's just that it's not going to be made public. So,
right.
So you will still get exactly what we did with After Dark. With Stars, so we're going to talk about that next, I think.
Yeah.
It's just that instead of it being its own standalone show, you just have to fast forward past the regular show in the full archive to get to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the thing is that I'm not going to speak on behalf of Ben all the time, but I think part of it is that we are intending to do more Patreon Hangouts, and they won't always be this okay, guys, this is the plan for the future. There will always be a little bit of that, but I think the more often we do Patreon Hangouts, the easier it will be, and we can get more of the cast involved, and it can be a little bit more of that After Dark, unfiltered, ask us anything kind of situation, as opposed to this planning out the future ones that we've done. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, I will. I think the Hangouts are going to be always a slightly more casual, let's talk about the show, what you want, and have a conversation about our vision of the future.
Right.
Tiny Dada's in studio.
Right.
It'll be...
Which might filter some things, to be honest.
It will be fractured thoughts from me. It will be...
Wait.
Oh, it's always fractured thoughts for me. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes,
Yeah.
obviously.
I get it. Dada said, I liked After Dark when it was an excuse to have a drink too. And I don't actually disagree, although I would argue, so let's go into the main show for a moment. So that's the plan with After Dark. Understand, it's not actually going away. right? So what's happening is we're not cutting it out of the main show and posting it as its own object on Patreon.
Right.
We're also not posting it to the After Dark channel anymore. All we're doing, we're still going to do it. You're still going to see the thing. We're still going to go into it and still have that post show because we need a moment after the show to wind down.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer to what you saw this last week. Although sometimes we're just in the middle of conversation and want to keep going.
Right.
And so it's not changing, other than the way you get to it is by going, instead of having this one object that you just play and it's nothing but After Dark. Now you're going to have to fast forward, an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to it inside of this full raw clip.
Can you bookmark that though, so you can skip to it? Because a number of people have mentioned, so Marty the Martian said, wait. Well, Marty the Martian said, because I'm not going to not read yours, After Dark was my favorite part of the show, but then somebody else, Asher, why was he? I also get that, but the time After Dark comes around, it can be a long show. Definitely for people who are in a completely different time zone, you don't want to.
So the way this works is I'm posting this as a link prior to the show beginning. If I wasn't doing it that way, I could actually post the show as a time marker that starts directly at After Dark, then you could rewind. But because you're getting this live as well as after the fact that I'm doing it for you live prevents my ability to bookmark that moment in time.
Can you put it in the show notes then? After Dark starts?
Yes, but again, this is only on Patreon, and those timestamps do not jump to that moment in time.
Right, but if
also,
you list
that post is created prior to the show going live.
So you don't know.
Do not know, and realistically probably won't go back and do it. Like,
just Ben being Ben.
Well, it takes a lot of time already to post the show and add in yet another step. Okay. So anyhow, fundamentally you're just gonna have to jump to it. If everyone hates it, let me know and we'll change, right? I mean, I'm not locked into anything in the show ever.
You guys are very sweet. Astro YYZ, Tim McConnell. It really seems like y'all are busy people, and I don't expect more and more and more. I hope you have a life. Thank you. We don't, but thank you. The thing to keep in mind, if you haven't heard me say this before, is that as you can even just physically see right now, literally, Ben has to always be moving, whether or not that's but seriously, whether or not that's working or playing or what have, he's constantly thinking, and he's almost literally constantly moving. So we're busy by choice to a certain extent. We wouldn't continue to have the jobs that we have if we didn't love them, if we didn't believe in the cause, if we didn't if we didn't want to be working there, I guess, if we didn't want to be doing those jobs. And yes, they take up a lot of time, but we enjoy that. Well, he enjoys that.
Yeah. She's along for the ride, whether she wants to or not.
Pretty much. I'm legally bound. So there have been, I won't go too far into it, but there have been a couple of times where we have seriously had a heart-to-heart and thought about shutting down Space Vidcast / Tomorrow.
More Space Vidcast than Tomorrow.
Yes, but it did come up in Tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe
so
it was once.
That means within the last 6 years of this show, we've thought about shutting it down completely. And we discussed what this is, what this means to us, what we feel like we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish here, and how we get about doing that. And we've rededicated ourselves.
To put context to that, it's not. Understand two things about this show for us. For us personally, it's a huge time commitment, which we
already know.
I love doing this.
Yeah.
I love interacting with the community. So for me, this is not a job. It's usually not a job. Sometimes it becomes a. Certain times there's certain parts of the aspects of things that I don't like dealing with that I have to deal with because I'm daddy, and that just comes with the role of daddy. But generally speaking, I love doing this. It's not a job. But the second thing you need to remember is we are the show's largest patrons. We don't pull a paycheck. We pay in to do the show. We are substantially larger than any other patron in the community.
But gladly.
Gladly. But it is a financial... it's financially a lot of money that we put into the show. I won't give you an exact figure, but it is absolutely more than $1,000 per month that we put in to ensure continuity of the show, to maintain quality of the show, and just make sure that all of the bills are paid, essentially. So, you know, when you're putting in that much month over month, and then you're also putting in time, and then you have and you work at companies that absorb a good deal of your time, you're going to have these conversations of like, why are we doing this? But we always come around to like, good,
yeah. No, I didn't mean that to sound doom and gloom necessarily, but I just want to be very clear. Like, this is, I joke that this is our child, but it really kind of is. It takes up all of our time. It takes up all of our excess income. But we love it, and we wouldn't choose it to be any other way, even when it's acting weird. So I know that's not a perfect analogy, but I think it's really darn close. So we would, and I'm not saying this for thanks from you guys. I mean, thank you for thanking us, I guess. I don't know. Like, as far as I'm concerned, we're all in this together. So that's another reason why we do it. We do it out of that love. But the unfortunate thing is that some of these things sort of fall through the cracks, like the swag store, like the promotion, you know, that sort of thing. And we feel bad about that.
Paul, has it gotten easier with the extra crew members? It has helped the time, but increased the financial burden on the show.
Right, because we do pay them.
One thing to know is we pay everyone on the show but ourselves. So every single person, other than ourselves and our guests, it is assumed that the guest will show up. We don't pay a guest booking fee. They show up for free. But every single person you see on and off camera is paid to be here because I'm asking their time and their talent, and it is fair and appropriate for me to pay for those things. And it should not be an expectation that they are going to just give that to us. I don't think that is fair to anyone.
Yeah, we've been amazingly lucky.
We don't pay them a lot, but we do pay them.
Right. But I mean, like, in terms of guests, like, amazingly lucky that we haven't paid a booking fee for anyone that we've ever had on our show.
We won't ever pay a booking fee. I don't want to speak in absolutes. I'm sorry. It is highly unlikely we will ever pay a booking fee. That is not who we are. We're here to get the world excited about going to the cosmos, and if a guest feels that they need to be paid in order to do that, for a one-time appearance, I'm not okay with that. There is a difference when you're a guest on the show versus actually working on the show, and I'm requiring your time every Saturday, week after week after week after week. It's
to make it fair for Ben to yell at people.
It's to make it so I can yell at people. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I do get to wear tiaras on TV, Marty and Martian, so... Stand for Liberty, bringing on Space Mike, Jade, Jared, and Athena has been great. I feel like we just missed one. Sarah as well.
And Lisa.
And Lisa, yes. I really like Tomorrow, the Next Generation. It has offered me a chance to step back and get off camera, let them shine and do their thing, and let me focus on making the show better and doing things like looking at analytics and looking at how we can reach more people in a better way. And that's part of what I want to do in 2019. And actually, I'd like to show you, we've done huge changes in 2018, and I'd like to show you a little bit about like how some of this came to be. So this is a Google Analytics screen showing the first 7 days of playback for Orbit 11.23 that was with Isaac Arthur on it. And I want to point out a couple of really key things in this graph. The first is what we call an inverted hockey stick, which is actually very, very bad. That happens within the first few minutes of the show. You see a steep decline of viewership, and then it starts to go over to the right a little bit. Now, there's going to be a natural tendency, especially on long shows, to kind of go, down a little bit and then slowly go down and to the right. You're never going to have 100% of the people all the way through a long-form show. That's just not a realistic expectation. But what we don't want to see are these little spikes. So if you're able to make it out on the screen, you see at 29 minutes and 10 seconds or so, and at 1 hour and 6 minutes or so, you see these spikes kind of create almost these cat ears in the graph. That is indicating that people are bored with us and are skipping ahead to 29:10 and skipping ahead again to these markers because they are not interested in the content prior to that. What we want to see instead is a much smoother graph. Now, as we've been making changes to the show, Here you can see it's a little bit spiky, so this is actually also earlier. This is 11.10 prior to it changes. So this shows, again, the inverted hockey stick, pretty good viewership up top, but then a fairly harsh, you don't have those cat ears in here, but you still see a pretty nasty decline through 41 minutes and 39 seconds, and then we even out from there. Coming to, again, you see a few cat ears in this one. We don't want to see that. And then here's a much more recent show. So this is a little bit better. This is under the new format, but it's not quite where we want to be yet. We still have that really nasty inverted hockey stick, which we absolutely do not want to see at the front of the show. You're going to see some of that, right? We just don't want it to be that big. And then you see that happens within the first it's generally within the first 2 minutes of the show is when we're losing almost everyone, which tells me, based on this data, our cold open, our disclaimer, cold open, and opens are not working and are not sticking. And those things need to radically change. The data proves historically, it doesn't matter where I go in this data, you can see that first 120 seconds, I'm losing people. We are failing in the first 120 seconds. So here's last, not the show we just posted, but the one prior to that, because we needed full 7 days. Also, thank you to Lisa for this. You can see we're trending better-ish, although 11:47 was pretty nasty. But you see that we're smoothing out a little bit, and I think part of that are the show changes. Like we're moving into a more conversational tone. So we're starting to see a little bit very slow trending in the right direction. When we run this same exact thing, which I don't currently have for everyone, and we do it for 28 days instead of 7 days, the trend works in our favor even better. Unfortunately, that's not exactly a fair comparison, and actually that was pointed out by Lisa, who, by the way, pulled all of those for me while she was doing Rocket Lab launch stuff. So thank you to Lisa for making all of that happen. But when we pull for 28 days, the new format trends even better than the old format did. But because it takes a full 30 days for us to get that data, it's not fair because we're comparing impartial data to a full 28-day data set.
Right.
So what she did instead was pull 7-day data sets. Tricky thing with the 7-day data set is we don't have full viewership. Like, it takes a good 30 to 60 days for these videos to get to their 3,000 to 5,000 viewer mark. So it's not a true look of how everything actually is. So we really won't know how this new format is working for another month or so. And then we'll be able to go back and say, okay, show me 60-day time chunks of all of these different things, these moments in time, and how are we doing. The only thing I can say definitively right now, so it seems to be the new show format, based on the analytics, is trending better. That people are more interested and more engaged longer throughout the show without jumping to different parts to just jump to the specific section that they care about. So there's nothing really wrong with jumping to parts, but it means that I've lost your interest. The second thing it shows me is definitively we have terrible opens. Like, we are not grabbing people's attention in that first 120 seconds. I've been making a big deal out of this, and I don't think, and I tried to execute on it a different way, and that has proven to also not work. So in 2019, you were going to see radical experimentation with the first 120, 180 seconds of the show. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I would love your ideas. Like, how can we get people interested? I have to hook you immediately. So things that will likely change. The disclaimer is going away. Like, that is 5 to 10 seconds that I've lost you immediately. And while it's fun and constant, I lose your attention. So that's gone, most likely. But above and beyond that, when you're watching the show, what would you like to see? What would keep your attention? When you're watching a show like Tomorrow for the very first time, put yourself in the shoes of someone who's never seen this show before. When you're just coming across the show, what would keep you attached to that show past 3 minutes? I think if we can get people past 3 minutes and engaged in this kind of conversation, I think we can keep them. I hope we can keep them. If not, then we need to keep looking at different things in the show where we can go, okay, well, what are we doing wrong? But there's some of the analytics. There's some of the stuff that we're looking at. Again, I don't know what all of this means, but yeah, and Marty, some people may just click on the thumbnail and then change their minds. Yeah, you know, and that's going to happen. There's always going to be a bit of an inverted hockey stick at the top. The trick is going to be, how can we minimize that? right now we're losing 50% of our viewers within 180 seconds. Half of the people who click on it nope out of it within minutes. So we need to work on reducing that number. I think we need to work on reducing that number. That seems like low-hanging fruit, where if we can fix that, we're doing, that would be a good thing. So Vax says you can put the disclaimer on the bottom third. The disclaimer is more for fun than, if you ever read the disclaimer, I mean, it's not really necessary.
Right.
I agree, right? Yeah. She's like, who's that strange man talking to me? So I think we can just get rid of it. I just enjoyed it, right? I thought it was a nice way to start the show consistently. It kind of it started with a fun tone. I like the look and feel of it generally, but it's not working. Yeah, shorten opening credits, change presentation style. Yeah, these are all things that are on the table. Everything's on the table. I actually, legitimately, I have no idea how to fix this. Like, I can see that there's a problem here. I just don't know what the solution is. So I think you're just going to see us try a bunch of different stuff. I don't know what that looks like just yet, but we'll start that in 2019. It doesn't feel like trying it on the last show of 2018 makes any sense. Last show of 2018 is just going to be a giant party. The other thing is the new conversational format. We're getting better at it, right? I think having a camera operator helps a lot. I think the hosts have gotten better at talking with you directly to the camera. But we still don't have. We're video. So right now we're more podcasty than we are video. So we did a really good job of being video before. Mm-hmm. We weren't very podcasty, and it was very stiff, and it felt very unapproachable before the show did. Now we're much more approachable, but we're visually boring. Right. So we need to be not visually boring, and the trick is going to be, which we don't have fully sorted out yet. We don't know where the conversation. Before, we knew exactly where the conversation was going to go because it was fully scripted. Every word, just about every word they were saying was on a script, and they were reading their script, and there were 5 to 10 covering shots. They would say their words, they would go to the covering shots, and the part that sucked was we never interacted with you. So why in the world were we live? If we're not going to interact with you,
right?
What's the point?
No, for sure. Why do we have an open at all?
Good question. Maybe we don't need an open. So I have the open there to kind of establish. To kind of have that
this is the start of the show.
Not just this is the start of the show,
sure,
but this is. It gives you familiarity with who we are. It's the. It's that you get an emotional tie to it. Mm-hmm. So that emotional tie happens when you're not the first viewer, when you're not watching for the first time. Because when you're watching for the first time, you have no emotional ties to anything. But when you're a consistent viewer. It's a gimme for a consistent viewer. And the thing is, I don't want to destroy the community we've already built or destroy the show for the sake of bringing in a new viewer. How do I want to word this? I don't want to turn the show into something where we're only targeting new viewers at the expense of the current community. It can't be that. So maybe the open goes away. Maybe the open gets shortened drastically. I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that the first 3 minutes of the show I'd like to really focus on and target.
That would be hilarious to just take the current open and shrink its time scale to...
Just speed it up 1,000%.
5 seconds.
Yeah, but the current open also does set the tone a little bit, right? I mean, you see the current open, you see a bunch of future-looking statements in there, but they're not science fiction statements. If you ever pay attention,
no, I'm not talking about the video. I'm talking about the things that we say.
Oh, the cold open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, the cold open is definitely going to change. I don't know how, but
why do we have it?
Because it's your hook, right? So if we just roll straight into the open and you're a first-time viewer, you have nothing. There's no hook there. So we need to have some sort of
in some
hook.
Cases there is.
In the cold open? Or in the open?
In the video open.
No, starting on the video open doesn't start with... We need to start on humans. I believe we should start on human. I say we need to start on humans. I don't actually know. I think we should start on humans. So, because humans have relations with other humans. Humans understand other humans. Humans don't understand rockets. Humans don't have relations with rockets, not that I'm aware of. So you want to create an emotional connection. Humans connect with other humans. So I want to connect with you in the first 3 minutes of the show. And I do that by showing other humans on the screen that are smiling, that are enjoying themselves, that are talking about something that you want to talk about. John says, I admit to being part of that hockey stick sometimes because show's on a Saturday. I'll take a look, see what the topics are, and if things I'm really interested in, I'll stay. You know, and that's fair. Again, we're not going to get rid of the entire hockey stick. That's unreasonable. The goal is to shrink that and to not lose 50% of our people in the first 3 minutes. Fundamentally, that's the goal. I want that hockey stick to not be nearly as drastic. When you looked at that, it was just jutting down the screen down to that 50% marker, and then kind of on the older shows, people were jumping around a whole lot, but now they're just kind of, staying with the show, which is a good trend. I like that trend. Brandon, it's good to see that tomorrow has over 32,000 up from the 20,000 at the beginning of 2018. That was another questionable decision that I made, but I've committed to it, which was, do I get one?
A playpen?
I want a playpen.
You are a play. You're in your playpen.
I suppose I am in my playpen. Oh wow! I have my childhood
technology.
No, I have no idea.
Could you finish what you were saying, please?
I don't even remember. I am just like the idea that you can have. So Donna just opened up a travel crib, which just blew my mind. That there is even such a thing that exists. There was nothing like that in my childhood. You would have to basically whittle wood on the spot.
Like you would no. You're not the one who carried the travel crib.
I don't think we had a travel crib.
You don't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
She's not going to remember when she's your age if she had a travel crib or not.
All right, that's fair. Bruce says, but if people abandon after 90 seconds, they are not a TMRO audience. Yeah.
Squirrel, no joke, man.
Yeah, sorry. Hey, man.
I showed him shiny things.
So the thing is that, like, what I'm hearing from what you guys are saying is that something exciting like the promo, cool music, grab images, space stations, rockets, that would interest you. Okay, fine. So, like, that's the video open as opposed to the cold open. I'm hearing, like, use Firewalker, like, something upbeat and like that. But then I'm also hearing, like, you kept up to date on space news, and that's what drew me in. Kept me current, educate us on the topics that as you get to them. And then somebody else said something about, John, because the show's on Saturdays, I'll take a look at what the topics are.
Yeah.
And if those are things that interest me, I'll stay.
Go back to the space news comment. Are we saying, because we're still covering space news, right? We didn't stop covering space news in the conversation.
Up-to-date space news is what drew me in.
Oh, okay.
Keep it current. Educate us on the topics as you get to them. Be dynamic by using pro guest speakers with personal insight, which you already do.
Yeah, I will say I really like... So, again, we're still playing with the new format. I really like the new format. I like the conversational tone. I like having everyone out here with the guests. I thought Jim did an amazing job yesterday. I hope everyone else liked it as much as I did. I enjoyed the story time. I prefer it when the guests are on with news, but I haven't found a good way to actually, like, do that yet that isn't awkward. So I openly admit that is awkward. But when we can incorporate them and just get space nerds on the show... I describe this as...
I think it's going to have to depend on the guest.
I think so, too.
Just straight up.
I think so, too.
If they want to be on news, great. And if they don't, then they don't.
Yeah, and I don't want to force their hand.
Yeah.
And we didn't yesterday, all right? We have always given the option under this new format for the guest to be on in news or not on a news.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Jim was like, I'm not feeling that, and that's fine. We don't push him. We don't guilt him. We're like, okay, cool. You're not feeling it. I don't want to, like, force someone on the camera, because then it's going to be even more awkward. I view the new format as when you go home for the holidays and you've got everyone around a table and you're just nerding out over some space stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And you're all just really excited over something that happened in space. Like, oh, did you see that Falcon Heavy thing? Did you see Starman? That was incredible. Did you see Rocket Lab just launched thrice in 1 year? Whatever that was. Like back to back, month after month. Who thought that they would be able to do that quickly? Like all this amazing stuff. That's the conversation I'd like to have, but you're a part of it as well, right? It's not just the people sitting here.
Right.
It's everyone, you included, geeking out over space news and just genuinely being excited for the future. That's what I think the show should be. And in the old format, when we were in the newsroom, we're standing there, we're all prim and proper, and it wasn't that. It was, here is this news item that is a week plus old, for 2 minutes, and there were pretty graphics that went on top, and there was no conversation.
Right.
And then we would jump out here, and it was this weird, huge, awkward shift in the show.
Jared says if the guest is going to be on for news, they should be briefed on the news before the show.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. That's the thing. Like, I think that's the thing that is available to them. Like, I think if Jim, I don't know how to make this leap in logic, but my personal view is, particularly with somebody like Jim, if he knew, I'm going to pull a Ben, I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth. Yes, if he knew the topics that we were going to cover, I think he would have been more comfortable being on during news. But at the same time, even without briefing him, I think he still would have been okay. I think if I had like 30 more seconds to talk him into it, he would have been fine.
No, I agree.
Being on. I didn't have enough time to talk him into it. So
I also don't want to talk them into it.
No, though. I don't mean talk him into it, but like, he came in so late that there wasn't a time to explain to him what was going on the show. So, yes, you're right. I think to a certain extent, some guests that we don't know as well, like Jim's a good friend of ours, blah, blah, blah. Like, Paul Morantz wouldn't even really need that explanation. Paul Morantz would be like, cool. Hey, we're going to talk about space stuff. We just want your opinion on any space news topics we talk about. Cool? He'd be like, yeah, cool. Like, but somebody that we don't know as well, we're going to have to come up with some sort of something that says, these are like, you're right. These are the 4 things that we're going to talk about. But I think it still should be an option to them. Do you want to talk about, here are the 4 things we're going to talk about. Do you have an opinion about any of them? Are you comfortable sharing your opinion? If so, we would like you to have you on during the news section. And if not, cool, sit back, we'll take care of it, and then you can come on later.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think it's both. I think it goes both ways.
I also think we need to work on the conversations during the news items. So we've given everyone iPads now, and I've noticed that we've got a lot of people heads down into the screens. I'm tempted to take away all of the devices from everyone that's not the commander. That's going to be a mistake, just so everyone knows, because now no one's going to have notes in front of them. But I'm trying to figure out how to get them their notes so that they've got basic data. And I'm wondering if on the set we have confidence monitors that are down here that for that particular story simply have basic stats on that story. Because realistically, no one should be expected to remember all of the little finite details, the exact date and time, the exact whatever numbers of everything on any mission. Everyone should have a broad understanding of the story, but like the finite details. I feel like I want to pan out. Wait, hang on, a little further. There we go.
Amazing. And it's a wildly entertaining little one, the micro one, which is hilarious.
Yeah, this is why I'm distracted. Yeah. There's adorableness in front.
This is why they're not allowed for Saturday shows.
They're 3 meters to my left. Jared said, then we'll be looking down at the monitors. No, see, you won't have the chat room. What you'll just have are the basic points. And when the monitors are here, allow me to emulate. So I'm like, so if I'm talking about, oh yeah, I know that Delta II lifted off. It was December something, and I look like that. This is a much more natural movement when I'm looking down here to a screen than looking down like this. There's a huge difference between this and this. And I think a lot of maybe the in between there is that everyone keeps their devices, but they're only in the rundown and only the commander has access to the chat room. Or maybe only Capcom has access to the chat room, or maybe what we do is we break out Capcom. I don't know.
I think removing chat from them during their discussion, removing like the person and the next person from chat during their discussion would be constructive. But somehow we need somebody to be able to feed that stuff, that content.
I mean, vMix kind of does that. vMix does sort of take away the chat ability, other than you can see what people are saying.
Right, but
they're constantly perusing.
So they're looking down at the screen.
Yeah, but they're not.
But if that isn't available, the only thing that they have in front of them is the notes for the show. And if somebody else is doing that, where their job is to be head in the monitor, where one person as opposed to 5.
What? Dumb question. What if we frame this
That's
up?
the way I always ran it. I guess maybe I'm not understanding how other people are running their stories. Like, I would have my notes in my story, and then I would try to do this as much as possible because this is the part that is interesting, and then I would have to go, oh, On Time Music says EVA. Okay, cool. So yeah, there's that. But that would be my note, not like going back into chat. I ignored chat completely during my stories, or completely during when I was Capcom, right? Like, I was not in chat, which is what
It's not the
you were
presenter.
upset about. No, I get that.
It's all of the other people. So
Is it?
Yeah. So you would be doing that right there.
Yeah.
So you'd be giving your thing. Then what's happening is everyone else, I realize this is in an iPad, is then while you're doing your thing, they're down in their notes. And then what they should be doing is listening to you.
Well, then why don't you give them that direction?
Haven't we?
I feel like we have.
I don't feel like I've heard it in that way.
I don't think
ever.
I've not articulated it that way.
All right.
But that's
Well,
fair.
then, yeah, I think that's a conversation we need to have with our hosts then, in general.
Yeah. Also, but like...
The concept is there, and I get it. But, like, yeah, if chat... That's actually originally where Capcom came from.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Like a million years ago, was that somebody was dedicated to just chat.
Right. So I think part of where the disconnect is between what... All right. So I think where we've got a disconnect between talent and what the expectations here is that I have constantly said in every meeting, the chat is the most important part of what we do.
Yes.
Like, the interaction with the community is the most important part of what we do.
Right.
And I stand by that. That is still a true statement.
Yes.
But the conversation, it's really the conversation with everyone that's the really most important part.
Right.
And so what I thought was magical about yesterday's show is Jim was telling stories, and very slowly you could watch everyone start to put their iPads down and just listen to what Jim had to say.
Yeah.
But Jared still did a great job, although I did have to remind him once or twice, of bringing it back into the chat room.
Right.
And getting that interaction back in there. Because, again, if we're not interacting with you, what's the point?
Right. So Paul says really succinctly, can you get someone off camera, push good comments to Capcom, and then the rest can concentrate on the show?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. We do that. So everyone else that's in the studio, whether it's me, Lisa, Kat, like anyone who's off screen basically is pushing the good comments. So so in vMix, there's like what everybody says, and then there's a queue. And so we all, behind the scenes, push all of the good comments or the relevant comments to the queue. And then whoever commander is goes through the queue and only has to look at the queue, so the filtered comments essentially, right? And then go, this was a good one. I want to talk about this, this, and this. And those get pushed and the slates automatically get whatever, blah, blah, blah. So we do kind of already do that. So I think explaining to the hosts that, like, you shouldn't be monitoring the chat rooms at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hosts will only have access to Rundown Creator, right?
Sure.
Only their notes.
Or only your notes.
And then I will say, look, it should be devices down when someone else is talking. Like, you can get ready once you're done, or get to your story, get your stuff prepped, get it ready to go, and then just have a conversation. And only Capcom, well, / commander. We've really gotten rid of the roles, so really only the commander is the one who will actually be running that part of it, and the commander will only be in the hosts room or the queue or whatever it is, and we will take care of pushing all of that other fun stuff, so that the commander really only needs to pay attention to just the relevant things that are coming up in the chat, and they're not scrolling through and looking for the whole
other
big
thing
thing.
to note, and I'm not gonna toot my own horn by any stretch of the imagination.
Poot, poot.
However, Don't. That's a different. It doesn't matter.
Wrong horn?
Yeah, it's the wrong.
Ooga, ooga.
No. For fuck's sake. No, but I think you and I have been doing this for so long that you and I are better at noting where you were, which is exactly why a million years ago when I told Colton I want a frickin' bookmark.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to know, like, bink, I was here, cool. So I know when I go back, I know what I've missed, or this is only the content I need to go back to, because I don't read every single comment per se, but I have a general concept of, like, I was here-ish. I think we're both really good at that, much better at it than they are. They need a little bit more practice as well. So don't be too harsh on that.
Oh, I'm not being harsh. Look, I'm not. All I'm doing is I'm saying this is a problem that I see.
Right.
And I would like to fix it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that our hosts are terrible. I'm just saying that I'm seeing this trend.
Okay. Just want to be clear.
Yeah.
The other thing I had been thinking of is kind of bringing back the Capcom role, but almost like sitting at that desk.
Like originally it was?
Yeah, but like we could never. The problem was we could never like effectively make that go.
Well, because you either have a weird disembodied voice, or you have to put that person on camera.
Yeah, and that's what always ended up is like we
So
always
it's
wanted.
either they
We always
are
wanted to
a
roll
totally
them.
separate camera, or they're sitting here amongst everybody else.
What is the aversion to a disembodied voice?
Yeah, you give me a really good microphone, and I'm an amazing disembodied voice.
That's not untrue. Give you a KSM 44 large diaphragm microphone.
Yeah.
We've got a comment from. Hang on.
Oh my gosh, can it be like B. Altman, where there's like a bing bong bing? Astro YYZ says you would probably move. It would probably move too fast to be meaningful. Yeah, like that would be amazing. I can do my best Siri impression. Right?
We could try if
a disembodied computer voice.
First off, what do you guys think, everyone in the Patreon chat room? Secondly, if you want to, I think I've got a KSM 44 hanging out. We can try this right now.
I mean, if you want, but then there's only you on screen, and that's boring.
I am not boring.
We has always said from the very beginning.
All right, I'm a little boring.
When I said, "Cool, you do the show by yourself," and then I said, "No, yeah, you're right. You're boring. You need my help."
You could do a mock show about having kids for a little bit.
That would be so good. Capcom camera might be kind of cool. Oh, I could have a little like.
Marty Marston says you have a disembodied voice, but
We do have a disembodied voice of Dutta.
Too busy to be playing that role.
But yeah, you can't be Dutta.
He's juggling way too much. Dutta needs to pay attention to what's going on, and then.
No, I think what Marty is saying is that we already have a disembodied voice.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So that Dutta sometimes is a disembodied voice. So it wouldn't be weird to have another disembodied voice if I'm reading that
But I already
correctly.
don't like the Dutta disembodied voice, and I want to take the old newsroom camera and swing it around so we have a Dutta cam.
Great, then you wouldn't like a disembodied Capcom. Problem solved. Next.
Well, I don't. Yeah, probably not. Oh, so should we try? Is it worth trying dropping Capcom on a table and just having they get a laptop, they've got all the fun stuff. They mute their mic constantly and then kind of just forcefully interrupt the conversation with it. Kinda.
This just in.
Bing, bing, bing.
Don't tell her I volunteered her, but.
Oh man.
Doesn't have the necessary context to know when to butt, I think. Yeah. Daniel says, yes, experiment right now, that'd be cool. Jazz, if everybody's on every episode, nobody gets to take off on a break, which would be helpful. I don't think everybody is on every episode.
No, they're not.
We still have more people than we still have a rotating capability. Something.
Like Ben and I were not on this last show, and neither was Lisa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are three of us not on this last show, and it still felt full. Like there were still too many people.
I told you that.
No, I know. I just didn't realize how many people I'd accidentally scheduled.
Yeah.
We're trying to knock it down by one, right? There's one too many people on the set.
Yep.
So it needs to be 4 chairs plus. It's 5 total.
5 people total.
5 people total,
At any
including the
given
guest.
time. Yep.
Including the guest. Yeah.
Picture in picture.
Yeah, we could.
Pip Catcom.
You guys, would you guys like to try this right now?
Can I just stand up on the back side of the set?
I mean, it's disembodied voice, so there wouldn't be a...
What?
You know, the picture
if you're
picture...
only doing it disembodied, but if you're doing a picture-in-picture, it wouldn't be disembodied anymore.
No, I get that. But actually, let's explore the picture-in-picture idea for a moment, because that's an interesting idea. It would be more like when you're watching a Falcon 9 launch and you see stage 1, stage 2 right next to each other. We could do something like that, where, you know, from the community kind of thing.
No, Kay McCoy, we're not. You're looking for someone to knock off one of your hosts? Is that an offer? Because you just put that out on the internet, man.
Actually, that could be interesting.
Knocking off one of the hosts.
We could have a triple hop where we've got a bigger window, it's all backwards, like a bigger square or rectangle that shows the viewer comment. And then 2 smaller rectangles, one that has the Capcom and then one that has the hosts that we could cut to that kind of shows like all of the things happening. So like when we go to a viewer comment, it's like all of the flourishes happen.
I then need another super source when the guest is Zoom and so is Mike.
Or you need another screen. You would need to not be, because there's only one super source on the switcher, so you would just need to find a way to not super source out here to make that work. Actually, we could still do it. We would have Mike adjust his camera. Well, no. Yeah, we just have to figure something else out.
This one's half disrobed. But like only literally half. It's like one shoe on, one shoe off. She's got one arm in the one jacket, but like the other arm is off.
CPU 2K16, we have a Capcom cam in the old studio for a few episodes. Yeah, that was what you were talking about. Did that work, though?
I think we didn't do it long enough for you to determine a good solution for it. So I think the deal was that it felt weird to you to be like, so anything? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that was the problem, is we didn't have a good way to butt those conversations back in.
I don't feel like that needs to be a fishing expedition. I feel like that needs to be an injection.
Right.
Yeah. So what Dutta said, in case you couldn't hear him on mic, is if we're to do something like that, it can't be a fishing expedition where the hosts go, hey, anything from the community. It needs to be an injection. Capcom needs to be willing to be like, hey guys, I got a comment.
John Ruff has a good idea. What about the Kindar tone to signal that there's a comment?
That's an interesting. So again, because go grab a microphone and turn it on.
Start the show with all the hosts.
Go be a disembodied voice.
Nope. Start the show with all the hosts and then let them vote off the island.
That would be a great cold open. That would be an interesting cold open too, where there's this tribal ceremony, like everyone has a fire stick of sorts, and like who will be on the show, who will be voted off not the island, the planet.
Asher YYZ says it feels to me that Mike gets a bit lost/forgotten when he's virtual. So I used to think that a lot too. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. One is quite literally the technology, right? So we've got just like those nanoseconds worth of delays that sometimes when he says something, we don't hear him about to say something. And it takes us a second to react to him saying something. So if he's slow to react, because, our signal to him is a little bit slower, and then we don't hear him right away, and we talk over him. So there is that awkward overtalk kind of situation going on. However, aside from that, one of the last shows that he was on in-house, he hardly said anything. And I took a really hard mental look at that because I was trying to figure out if we were just still talking over him or not. And we weren't, because I could hear him just freaking fine.
I think he and Sarah have a similar personality where they'll say something when they've got something to say.
Yes. And so it feels like that because we do sometimes, when he does say something, we do talk over him, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, when he's in person, he also does not say a lot. So I think you're right. I think he and Sarah have that similar, they're very quiet for the most part, other than when they're doing their part. And then they'll remain quiet until they have something else to say. Mm-hmm. Which is
and
interesting.
They both get very excited when they're saying what they're saying.
Yes.
Though. So it's this weird juxtaposition where they're very, very quiet, and then very, very excited,
right?
And then very, very quiet.
But so the thing is, like, you can't have 5 Jareds on the show. It would never happen. It would never work. It would never go anywhere. It would be the most random bowl of cereal ever. So you have to have some people who are going to be a little bit more quiet, and you have to have some people who are going to be a little bit more loud. You have to have that mix, because otherwise it literally will not move forward. The thing that we're missing sometimes is, and Jared's getting much better at this, and I try when I need to as well, is the driving, the underlining force of moving things forward in a way that makes sense, and that's Ben. And he's just incredibly hard to replace.
I thought Jared did a magical job yesterday. I thought he channeled his inner Ben brilliantly.
Brilliantly. Absolutely. But it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen every time. And I also don't do a really great job with it, because it's not my natural personality to do that. So if I have to do it because nobody else is doing it, I'll step up and into that weird role. But it is a weird role. You have to. I think the problem is that, not to speak badly about you, but we are so used to, and we've created this sense of authenticity because we try to give our true opinions on these things, and we stay true to ourselves, and we stay true to our weirdness and outlandishness or quietness in some cases, that there has to be a devil's advocate at some point.
Sure.
And you are really good at playing that role, and you know when to play that role. And Jared and I and anybody else have to actually think about that in order to make that go. We have to be constantly conscious of it. And Jared, I love you, but I know how ADHD you can be sometimes. And I also, it's not my natural role. I don't naturally tend towards that.
I think that's okay. So I don't think everyone needs to be me.
No, I don't want everyone to be you. I want that role to be you. And it's not natural for Jared and myself.
No, I think it's okay for everyone to have their own take on that role.
Sure.
I think specifically the thing that role needs to be able to do is move the conversation along. I do that by playing devil's advocate and being like, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And sometimes taking a hard stance on things that I may not agree with.
Right.
That's how I get that conversation out of people.
Right.
That doesn't have to be the way that everyone in this role, the commander role, actually does it. But they do need to make sure that the conversation is moving along, and there is a conversation there, and it's not a whole lot of everyone just going, yep, nope, I agree with that. Right? There needs to be actual, like... There needs to be an actual,
yeah, but it's not just the agree thing. Like, it's come up relatively recently in the past where, I forget who it was...
We need Jeff Peterson.
Where
the dead robot skeleton from.
Gotcha. Yes. There's, Sarah and Jade and Jared all have planetary backgrounds and planetary focuses, and I forget who it was, but one of them had a story, and there were like little to no questions because everybody understood.
Yeah.
And so everyone went, "Yep, I heard that."
Yeah.
So it's not devil's advocate in terms of opinion per se, in so much as sometimes just remaining, trying to pull out the other perspective.
Bringing the conversation.
Pulling the stories.
Yes.
Get stories going. Yeah. Get the story flow happening. I don't think these are areas that we're super weak in. I think we're actually doing pretty good in these areas. I think these areas are very important in this new format. By the way, generally speaking, is everyone okay with the new format, with the understanding that we're still improving it, right? So this is not how it's going to actually be. We're trying to create a more dynamic conversation as opposed to us getting on set and saying, this is the news. We're getting on set and saying, would you like to talk with us about the news? I feel like there's a pretty big difference between those two things, right?
Yeah.
Is everyone, in very broad strokes, ignoring the little details of things that clearly don't work? In broad strokes, are we generally in favor of this new format? I'm going to give you, as I wait for the delay, I'm going to give you a couple reasons why I am, from a logistics standpoint, this works really, really well. Because we set up a show, we set up 6 topics. 6 topics now? 6 topics, right? We set up 6 topics now. And that is a full hour-long plus show, those 6 topics. And if we get to everyone, that'll be probably an hour, hour and 20 minutes. And it's an engaging and exciting show the entire time. However, if we get a last-minute guest, we can very easily punt 2 of those topics or 3 of those topics to the next week's show or whatever that might be. And like last week, bring on a guest and still have a very cool, exciting, and engaging show that still features space news, still has conversations, but still has a guest. Conversely, if we have a guest scheduled for a show, like let's just say Jim was scheduled well in advance and all of a sudden has the flu, can't show up, we still have those 6 topics that we had researched. We can still have a full show with no modifications. All we do is just remove the guest, and you still get the exact same show. Well, you still get the show that you're expecting. You still get the space conversation you were expecting. And I like that because in the old format, we would go to news, and then if we didn't have a guest, it was a radical departure of the show format for us to like go, here's a roundtable, random roundtable. Whereas now it all feels the same. There's cohesion there. Cohesion. I would say other 90s terms like synergy. Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks for that, Ben.
Yeah.
I think Jethro says, yes, but you already had that when it was just 2 of you with Jared and Mike. It works with 4 people on camera, not more with 4 because it gets too raucous. I think...
Yeah, we have too many people. We agree.
6 is definitely too many.
Yeah, we totally agree.
I think 5 is definitely doable. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think it's
5. 4 plus
4
1.
chairs and a mic.
4 chairs. Yeah.
Whatever that ends up to be.
Yeah.
But 5 people total.
I think 5 is the right number.
I think 6 is way too much.
Well, it's weird. I think it flips really quickly. I completely agree. 6 is too many. It's just you just can't track it.
Yeah, I think 4 is doable, typically speaking.
Not enough.
But I think it's just not quite enough.
It's not quite enough.
It's doable.
For some reason, 5 seems to be the magic number. Like you get a good dynamic, diverse enough conversation. Right. 6 is just too much to track, and 4 is just not enough for a good dynamic, diverse conversation. 5 is the magic number.
Odd numbers are better than even numbers.
Also, odd numbers are better than even numbers.
Stuart says, I'm giving it a chance. I like it, but there were parts of older format that really shine. My friend is against it. He much prefers the older version. Stuart, can you expand on that at all?
Yeah. So how about this? What are the parts of the older format that you really liked? And then what are the parts of the new format that you liked? And we'll see if we can't bring some of those things that you liked back into the show. The idea isn't to just change the show for the sake of changing the show. The idea is to always be better, right? So if there were things that we accidentally got rid of that were awesome, let's see if we can find a way to bring those awesome things back.
Soma bar. Yeah. Martin says, I'd love to draw community in somehow. Good try with current format. I feel like we've always been community driven. How do you...
CPU 2K6, 5 people including guests. Correct. 5 people total on set. Right? That's...
No, you just said 2 different things. You said 5 people including guests, and then you said correct. No, that's a negative. That would be 6 people total. 4 people...
No, I'm saying 5 people total on set.
5 people total on set ever. So if we normally have 5 people, 5 people total on set.
Yes.
So if we have a guest, one of our hosts goes away so that we can include the guest.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because it's about that conversation. So.
Right, but what I'm reading as 5 people including the guest.
I'm reading 5 people includes the guest.
4 hosts and a guest, or 5 hosts. Is that better?
Correct. Or 3 hosts and 2 guests.
Sure, 3 hosts, 2 guests. Never more than 5 people.
5 people.
Does that make sense?
Hopefully that helps.
4 guests, 1 host. Either way, but like...
This feels like a bad,
no,
like one of those weird viral...
No. With extremely rare changes to that, right? Like, we had brookies on. I think we had like 5 or 6 brookies. But even with that, we only had 1 host on with them.
You know, we got a bit of flack for like some of the Brookie stuff and promoting some of the.
I'm not going to address that. I think that's ridiculous.
I do too.
I feel like we did what we thought was good and best, and I have absolutely no qualms about promoting that program.
Yeah, and
period.
you know, we promote all of these unique individual programs, and there's no reason we wouldn't promote Brookies as well.
Right.
I think the people getting. I think that's weird. Anyhow.
Yeah, no. I was reading, for some reason I was reading 5 people, including the guest, as 6 humans. And so that's read to me as 5 hosts and a guest. And like, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Georgia man, you're all agreeing very loudly today.
Mike is human too. He's just not present human.
Yeah, Mike is human too.
Yeah. So that's correct. Yeah. So hologram counts as
a host.
As a person. Yes, the hologram's still a person. A human. Yeah. Yep. It's
5 hosts.
5 voices.
Or 4 hosts and a guest. 3 hosts, 2 guests.
The question is, if we decide to break out Capcom, does that become, is it the conversation plus a broken out Capcom? If Capcom's not broken out, then no, it's those voices.
Right.
So that I think we have to play with, because I don't think we know the answer to that.
Right.
This is like a Monty Python sketch.
It is,
You're both saying the same thing. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. All right. What else did I want to cover? Hang on.
I have no idea.
I feel like. Give me a second here. See, now I lost my notes because I logged into a different thing. This is what happens.
Slacker.
Yeah, and now I'm going to have to.
Like you don't know anything.
Yeah.
We have more than one cute kid on set. We have a mini and a micro Dutta.
We have all of the Duttas.
We don't have all of the Duttas.
We have all of the miniature Duttas. Can I do it here?
Have a good one, Marty.
Patreon, I hate you so much.
One of the reasons that we put Mike on the side instead of in the middle is literally so he doesn't have to continue to turn back and forth and back and forth.
It does work better, just like.
With him just being able to turn to one side and speaking to somebody, even if that person isn't there, because try that for a minute. It's weird. So then that way he only has to talk to one side. He doesn't have to look at this side and then look at this side and be like, yo, I'm sure there's a human there over there too. And there's a human over here and there's a human over there. Like, that's weird. So if we can cut that down for him, that's what we're going to do.
All right, let's see here. Patreon. Cool.
Thank you, Kevin. Look, honestly, if we're going to lose supporters because we want to promote something like the Brookies.
Oh, we did. We totally did.
I'm fine with that. There's a lot of compromises I'm willing to do for this show. That's just simply not one of them.
All right.
We also get a lot of flack for trying to balance out male, female.
Oh yeah, that's right. So
and I don't care.
I was not happy that back in the day it was almost all male on screen, and I wasn't happy with that. I felt that we should be the change we want to see, and so made a call out and said, "Hey, we're looking for some women to help host this show," and we've actually done a pretty good job of balancing it 50-50, and we're right where we should be now. So we're fairly even, right down the middle. And I took a lot of flack for that.
But some of that was accidental. Some of that was purposeful, and some of that was accidental.
Oh yeah, some of that just happened. Like I think Sarah, actually, that wasn't that.
Athena, Jade, and Sarah we weren't looking for women specifically.
No.
Lisa, we were looking for women.
Yeah.
And we got Lisa.
That's not an entirely true statement. So Lisa, yes, and then we were also. I asked Jared. I said, "Hey, we're still unbalanced. We need to move this balance over," and that's where Jade came in, I believe.
Okay, but yeah. Athena wasn't, and Sarah wasn't.
Sarah definitely wasn't, and I don't remember on Athena. I actually don't remember.
I think Lisa picked Athena.
I don't remember Athena's origin story. So.
She came from
I know where Athena came from. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so no, you're right. You're right. Athena just came in. That was a
yeah,
natural.
but initially she was in an interview, and then Lisa and Athena hit it off so well.
Right,
that when
right.
we were starting science, Lisa was like, "Yeah, I think Athena would be amazing."
All right, so we're about 90 minutes in. So let me.
Mike does do the head turn better than anybody else, but
Oh my God, he's so good at that.
he is. But like sincerely, it's not easy. And if we can make his job just slightly easier, I'm gonna do that for him.
Also, the TV is just big, and it like blocks other elements, and so I try to not like have it in the middle of everything because it's just like this giant monolith. What I might need to do is actually insmollinate the TV because it's just too big. We had the hologram effect working brilliantly on the new set. Like it was really good. It's not as good out here. The effect just doesn't work as well. It fails here for multiple reasons. The size of Mike on the screen, the lack of legs, right? There's nothing blocking. Like, there are many reasons that this does not work correctly out here. I think I can do some low-hanging fruit type things to make the effect better, but unless I have something to obstruct the view of the bottom of the TV, I'm not going to be able to make it as good as what we had out on in the newsroom. I think that's okay, though. Like, we don't have to lean into that fully. This just doesn't... What might be cooler is if we can do the Peppers, excuse me, it was brought up in some previous comment somewhere, doing a Peppers ghost effect, which is kind of that reflecting off a glass kind of thing, so it's essentially clear, like kind of making him almost more hologram.
Right.
Either go like all the way in and like make him more hologrammy so there's a clear background,
right.
or just kind of accept that this is what it is. This is not something that I'm focusing a lot of time on right now because I don't think it actually enhances the show. It's just kind of a neat little gimmick, and like fixing this won't actually get us. It won't bring about new viewers. It won't get us in front of new people.
When we have too much money and we don't know what else to do with the show, we'll make them a hologram. How's that?
There you go. All right, so a couple final things here. I want to talk about some of the secret projects we've been working on in 2018 that kind of will push into 2019. Some of these may never come to fruition, right? So we don't know what's going to happen here. The first big one we're working on is a partnership with YouTube. YouTube is doing a science and educational series, and they're actually funding a bunch of channels. They've got millions of dollars of available funding for these channels. And so we have officially submitted our paperwork to get funded by YouTube as a science channel, specifically for the science show, not actually the space show. The idea being, I mentioned we have everything but time. I need to bring on someone who can essentially work full-time on the show. Hopefully we can bring on Lisa to ironically work on helping to secure additional funding. I mean, that's part of it.
Among other things.
Among other things, yeah. Well, it's also to enhance the shows, right? So one of the things is to work on like making sure that the show is self-sufficient and doesn't require gobs and gobs of our own money month after month to survive. If I am no longer hired at company X, this show is directly impacted, and that's a bad thing. Or employed at company X. So we need to make sure that that's not the case. We need to make sure that. Fundamentally, I'd like to bring on more people full-time as well, and for that we need additional funds. And I'd like to enhance the shows, right? So I want to make sure that science is a great show. It reaches a lot more people, and it does really great things. And we will need additional funding to make that happen, and that's what this YouTube funding would go towards. Having her come on full-time, work on the show, assuming she wants to. There are a few other things kind of in the back pocket. So she's also going to be working on... If that doesn't go through, there's a secondary thing that we're going to be trying as well for additional funding. So that has been going on for a little while. Part of that was Freda in Community. Freda in Community came up with this absolutely mind-bogglingly, incredibly awesome post on like how to create not a business plan, but like a plan forward. Let me see if I can find what we came up. It was very detailed, and it was exactly what we needed.
It's all the common stuff, the common sense stuff that for a small business nobody really thinks about.
Yeah, and documenting it,
and
like putting it,
and documenting it, and making a plan to implement it, and a plan to correct yourself when you fail, and it's all those things that you would normally put into a large corporation that you need to think about as a small business in order to be able to succeed and not have a single point failure.
Right.
It's kind of the who are you and like what are you trying to do, and making sure that your decisions from that moment forward are all based on like your actual vision. You know, you're making decisions that go towards kind of the bigger picture of what you're trying to actually accomplish. So we've actually come up with this general strategy document. This is our vision of tomorrow. And you know, we have 5 different strategies. The core, these are very, very high level. You know, the strategy part doesn't talk about how you do these things. This is just why we're here. You know, get the planet excited about space. We're about people, not the numbers. So while I am trying to increase our viewership, at the end of the day, we don't do that at the expense of the community. We do that to enhance the community, not to detract from it. We are global, not just in the United States, which goes towards, I was talking about shipping. Of course, we will ship internationally. That's just included. It is assumed that everything we do is international. We will do quality over quantity. That goes back to the swag store, right? I'm not going to release product that I don't think is great. If it's not great, we're just not going to release it. We're going to release quality content, quality product. That's what we're about. And then operational sustainability. Again, if I'm no longer under the tenure of company X, how does this show continue to survive? At this exact moment in time, it can't, so we need to fix that. And then these are kind of some of the umbrella requirements that go toward. Are you playing with the micro human?
Yeah, but they can't see me, so yes.
Some of our umbrella requirements, this is kind of a level deeper than the actual strategy. Viewers are active participants, right? So everyone watching is an active part of the show. We do want to reach a larger audience, right? We want to, and we do that with people and technology. We want to make sure the shows are easy to consume, meaning that you don't have to fight with technology to watch our show. You can find it wherever you're looking for us. So if you want to consume it on your iPhone via podcast, if you want to consume it on YouTube, if you want to consume it on Twitter, whatever, you should be able to very easily find whatever you want. Here's something that we really suck at right now, but we need to, because we're a worldwide show, that means that we can't just be English. So we need to translate and transcribe everything as much as possible so that it's easier for people to grab onto. Hosts are always presenting. That goes back to when the cameras are on, sometimes we would just ignore the community. And we can't, while we will, I don't want to say ignore the community for the first 30 minutes of pre-show. I mean, you're still actively there. We're doing that for you, so we're still on. We're still performing at that moment in time. The show will always have improvement. We're constantly going to be working towards making the show better. Sometimes that means lobbing off old things that maybe were tradition that just aren't good anymore. And yeah, that sucks because we all get attached to these things, but sometimes you just have to let those things go. Sometimes that means adding in things that are maybe a little bit not loved and adored at first, but over time we can make really, really great. And sometimes it's just low-hanging, like Launch Minute was one of those things where we deployed it, and I think everyone went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Prevent legal issues. I feel like that's self-explanatory. Financially sustainable, that goes back towards making sure that we can survive. Having diversity on the show, this goes towards people relate to things that look like them, if that makes sense. So
look, sound,
yeah, like they relate to things that they can attach to and will be excited by things that they can relate to. How's that? Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that we look and feel like things that they can relate to. We're on the same team. We're not working against each other. We might have differing ideas. That kind of goes towards one of our rules of debate the idea, not the person. Self-explanatory. And fundamentally, tomorrow is an optimistic view of the future. So we are not here to have gotcha moments. We're not here to be like, oh, SLS sucks and no one should ever fund it. Frankly, if SLS gets us to the stars, then we should be supporting SLS to a point. Well, no, I mean, if it's going to get us to the stars, but at extreme cost to the future, then sure. Whatever. I totally agree. That's how I feel as well. Yep. Yep.
You're right. Ben does just talk too much.
Create a phone app, Daniels. That's expensive. Oh yeah, and Jazz, that actually goes for those who don't know. Launch Library is also funded entirely by TMRO, so that's another thing that it's funded entirely by Ben and Carrie Ann, but we say by TMRO. It's another thing that's important to me, being able to get that data out there to help get people excited about this stuff.
Tomorrow's general fund has a large surplus. All of your expendable income.
Yeah. That is how that works.
And some of your not expendable income.
That's also how that works. That's important to me. So it's a passion of mine. It's something I believe in. The other thing that we do, I don't know if you guys know or care, but we also fund other starting Patreon campaigns that are generally space and science. So we were one of the first people to fund Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. We like to fund at a higher than normal level so that what happens is you get this weird snowball effect. So people don't like to fund something that has $0.
Yeah.
They don't want to generally be the first. So we'll be the first, or we'll be up front, and then we'll throw a fairly high dollar amount at that so that you immediately have an increase in value to that channel, and then we'll try to find other people to help us come around and help fund that channel. And then once that channel builds up to a level where our support's no longer needed, we'll pick that up. We'll tell them first so they don't just like lose a bunch of money. Pick that up and then work with them.
Tim Dodd and us are not friends anymore. No, I'm kidding.
We'll pick that up. No, and actually we talked to Tim Dodd and we're trying to find another channel to go support. And so Tim and I, and then ideally Flight Club, which was another channel that we supported.
Yep.
We are all, the three of us are now going to go try to find a fourth channel that we can all go support. And then hopefully that fourth channel will join the little club, and now we'll have 4 channels, and we'll go find a 5th channel once it's ready to go and go and support. And if you guys have ideas as to who we should support next, please let me know in the comments.
I mean, that's kind of one of the ways that we found Mike.
Yeah. Back in the day. I think it's a bit about from me. Anything from you?
I've got a lot of work to do over the holidays. Great.
Like tomorrow work or so? Oh, the document work?
Yeah.
Work. Yeah, so that document ended early. For anyone who's been in community and looked at Freda, I don't know how to pronounce that, post, there were like 4 sections to it, and I got through like the high level and almost high level stuff, and then it got too far into the weeds for me, and I was like, this is not my area of expertise. So then I handed this off to people who can do that, because I cannot. I looked at that and I'm like, no. So I kindly asked Dutta, and he, I don't want to say begrudgingly agreed, but he...
I mean, I understand that it's a lot of work, and I think it's something that needs to be done, and it's important. So I'm...
You also understand that you're better at it than Ben is?
Oh, everyone is
better
better at it than I am.
Ben
Yeah,
is.
that's what goes without saying.
I know, but you could actually compliment Dutta for once.
I don't feel I'm complimented.
Good.
I don't feel like
Watching
I can.
him flounder is fun, and then watching it work when I'm done is even more fun.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
compliment.
good.
Anyhow, I do in fact suck at that. He doesn't suck at that, so I was like, here, make this go. And he said yes, thankfully.
Astro YYZ, absolutely. Kay McCoy, that's cute. You're like science and social media venture capitalists, except you never make any money from it.
True.
So
It's true.
funny, but as you have, especially Kay McCoy, I know you've heard Ben say it a million times, and if you haven't heard Ben say it a million times, you've heard me say that Ben says it a million times. All ships rise with the tide.
Yeah, it's true.
So the thing is, we're not everyone's flavor, right? Sometimes we're too brash. Sometimes we're too lowbrow. Sometimes we're too highbrow. Sometimes, whatever it is. Sometimes we're too casual. Sometimes we're not casual enough. Like, depending on how Ben wants to take the show that week, we may not be everyone's flavor. So if you can find somebody else that is still interesting and worthy and putting their passion towards something and getting out, the good word that is science, then yeah, we want to help them as much as we can. And so, yeah, I guess in that way we're more venture capitalists. Saying that we don't get anything out of it, though,
That's not true at all.
we don't get any money from it, sure, but we do get something out of it, just to be clear.
Also, these are good people. Like, I want to help good people.
Yeah.
I think everyone does. It's the same reason that you support this show,
Sneeze.
right? We just support other shows as well because we don't think we should be the only show. I don't think that's right. As you just said, we're not everyone's flavor, and so assuming that we are is arrogant and incorrect. And we need to make sure. It's important to me. I mean, part of the goals of the show is to get the humanity excited about going to the cosmos, and we're not going to do that alone. We can't. So
Also, it'd be really boring.
it would be really boring.
There's a really great thing that I don't know if we were the originators thereof, but cooperation.
Coopetition. No, I wasn't, but I definitely stole that term.
Whereas if you're the only person playing that game, you have no competition. So you have to help somebody else play that game so that you have some kind of competition and cooperation. It's sort of like edutain, right? We don't just educate. Hopefully we also entertain at some point. So edutainment. We have a cooperation and edutainment.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
The bed.
From a pure ego standpoint.
We also have a lot of synergy.
And cohesion. Synergy and cohesion. Yeah, 90s terms.
What is the concentric circle of, or triangle of?
Yeah, the concentric triangles of
something. I don't remember. Anyway.
I'm not going to lie. From a pure ego standpoint, it hurts a little bit that Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, just blew past us in such a short amount of time.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Love him to death. Want him to rule the world, but yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, just a little bit, He
knows that. We told him that.
But you know, at the same time, I really like our community, and I think they're really great. And I wouldn't trade anyone. And you know, this is the hard. We're building our show the hard way, and the long way, and we're kind of we're the Blue Origin, I guess, of these shows, right? We're the two
Surprise,
turtles.
we did a thing.
Yeah, surprise! Yeah, very slowly towards the finish line. But I do think it is the right way. Not that saying that Tim Dodd's way is the wrong way. That is absolutely a format for a lot of people who really enjoy it, and that is good.
It's Tim Dodd's way. Tim Dodd's way.
It's Tim Dodd's
it's
way.
got to be Tim Dodd's way.
Yeah, it has to be Tim Dodd's way because
he's the only one who has that amount of energy.
He's really good at it. He has the energy. He has the on-camera persona. He's very good at it.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy for his success. Egotistically, hurts a little bit, but at the same time, very happy for his success. Also, his success does not mean we're not successful.
Right.
Right. They're not mutual. You can have both, if that makes sense.
Totes.
Anyhow, still does hurt a little bit.
I'm not familiar with PBS Space.
That dude is making
The rocket.
It is the dude making the model rockets.
And then he making it controllable so it lands like Falcon or like a stage 1
Yeah, I'm
landing.
not sure that's entirely legal.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
You want guided model rockets to be a commercially or a
But where in the law?
commonplace thing?
No, but where in the law does it say you can't do that? I legitimately don't know. I'm asking.
In rocket circles, it's extremely frowned upon.
Frowned upon and illegal are two different things.
Agreed, but it's frowned upon because the legal fight to keep model rockets legal has been ongoing for a very, very long time, and there's a lot of dancing on ice to make it possible. And I feel like an endeavor such as that, while his intentions may be innocent, could very well be used in a non-innocent way that would damage that reputation.
That's fair. I get that. One could make the same argument for entire stages coming back to land.
Except that they've been granted specific legal authority to do so.
Yeah, I think.
And that's not the case with him.
All right. All right. I don't see where it would not be legal. I see the other arguments, but I don't see it would not be illegal. Whereas with a rocket stage, it was not legal until it was then made legal, right?
No,
you can't fly something towards an Air Force base. You're not allowed to do that. Whereas with a model rocket, there's nothing that says you can't bring it back. To the best of my knowledge, maybe I'm mistaken. So highly undesirable. This is like people using the term mission critical when they don't mean it. Like, I take a hard stand on that. Like, there's a difference between saying it's illegal and saying, like, hey, this might be bad for the community.
The part of the argument against having drones be able to go to a GPS location is because they can carry anything.
Sure.
If they can carry an Amazon package, which is something constructive, maybe they could also carry a block of C4, which is something destructive.
Sure.
And the same can be said for having something fly through the air and guide itself, or a human guide it to a specific location. And
Sure.
when that's abused, it hurts everybody who enjoys that other thing, which is good and constructive.
Not disagreeing.
In a very, very harmful way.
Still
And
not illegal, though.
I am not. I understand. I'm not saying that it's. I don't think that it. I'm not saying that it's not, that it's illegal.
You use the word illegal.
I'm saying I don't think there is a legal path for him that he's following. Like, does he get permission from the FAA to do what he's trying to do? Whereas when I go out to the Lucerne Dry Lake to fly rockets, I have to specifically get permission from the FAA for them to clear out the airspace for me to be able to fly rockets.
But what if he did get permission from the FAA? Do we know that he didn't?
In somebody's backyard?
Maybe.
That's not observing safe distances. There's all sorts of things that, just on the basic level of rocketry, that he's not doing right. Which tells me that he's not doing the other things right, which is seeking legal permission to do what he's doing.
You may be correct. I'm not saying you're wrong. But what I'm saying is that you don't actually, you're pulling an ancient aliens on me. You're saying this, ignoring the middle, must be aliens. But there is a murky middle there that needs to be done. You might not be wrong, but you also might not be right.
I understand how to make that, how not to make that leap without certain qualifications.
Sure.
So if you're flying a model rocket in a public park, there's a certain class of motors that you can use to actually do that, provided you have permission from the owners of the park, the school or the city or whatever, and that you are observing safe distances, which are not legal, but are prescribed in order to enhance and promote the safety of the sport.
Sure.
So when you exceed that by including more motors than you're supposed to, or by using a greater than a certain amount of propellant, and at that point it becomes a legal thing, because there are qualifications, there are legal qualifications for the amount of propellant that you can have in a rocket, for the amount of weight that a rocket can carry. Until you cross that point, you don't need to seek permission to launch. But once you do, you're dealing directly with the FAA.
And has he crossed that point?
I don't know exactly.
That's my point.
But what I'm saying,
my point is we don't know. So you're jumping to an immediate conclusion, and I agree with the premise of what you're saying, which is this could be bad for the community, and the community frowns upon this. This isn't generally something you would want to do for all of the reasons you've listed.
Right.
Those are all sound. The only part that I'm taking issue with is this illegal? Which is how you started off. This is not legal. I'm taking issue with that because...
No, I said I don't know that what he is doing is legal.
The word illegal, sure. So...
I'm not saying that he's done anything illegal. I'm saying I don't know that what he is doing is legal.
All right, that's fair. All right, that's fair. I may have turned that into something else in my head. True. We don't know that it's legal. Meaning, might be legal.
Could be, yes.
Could be legal. Could be just fine. Might not be illegal. Don't know. But not enough data to come to that conclusion at this time.
But my argument is that while what he may be doing while what he is doing may be legal for him and in his circumstance, because he's being observant of the rules that have been set out to keep it legal.
Yeah, the chat room is kind of basically saying, from what they've watched, that he's using legal rocket motors.
Well, there's a difference between legal rocket motors and a legal quantity of rocket motors.
Yeah, but they're not all firing at the same time, right?
He's making a Falcon Heavy, and he's got, what, three motors in it?
Sure.
Does it contain more than X amount of propellant? That then becomes a legal issue.
Does somebody have contact information for this guy?
He's all over the internet.
Cool. So why don't we interview?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's not quite up our wheelhouse, though. We're unsure. I'm unsure on that interview. It's not. Yeah.
Have you not made her watch the movie yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, which movie?
Well, because there was a question posted. Minnie Dutta asked a question of Dutta, I guess. Just Dutta.
OG Dutta?
And Dutta gave some quantifications on the initial ask, and then Minnie Dutta said, "I'll try," and then Dutta said, "Do or do not. There is no try." To which, brilliantly, Minnie Dutta said, "Why is there no try?"
Well, why is there no try? On that note,
Because you decide to either do it or not do it. If it's something that you're going to do, you commit yourself to it and you do it.
Right. If it's something
You don't
of worth,
try.
yes. If it's something that you find worthy enough to do at all, you should do it to the best of your ability and learn how to do it and do it correctly, not just try.
You should know by now that I'm an engineer and I don't do anything on accident.
I don't know. I sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I'll try that. I'm not going to commit fully to it. Be like, yeah, no, that did work, or that didn't work.
That's the difference
I'm okay
between
with
our
trying.
personalities.
No. You do it, and you do it 100%, and then you decide to not do it anymore. There's a distinct difference.
I would say sometimes I do just decide to try something. Just be like, and I don't go in 100%.
Like calamari?
Like calamari, exactly. I'll try it. I'll try it, but
No,
I'm not going to go.
You won't try it. It's terrible. Please don't try it. I'm craving salmon, though, for some reason.
Ken McCoy, I've noticed that Ben doesn't like interviewing other space science social media. I think it's too meta. That's exactly correct. We did that in the past. It feels, I'm not going to use that phraseology.
Yeah, you can.
Really?
Yeah.
Feels too circle jerky. What are you getting out of that? Like, conversely, I don't expect them to interview us either. Like, in fact, there was another interview request from us, and I said exactly that. I'm like, I'm more than happy to do this, but what is the story here above and beyond? They do space, because you do space too, so who cares? So, yeah, if there's a better story there, if there's something that we can talk about above and beyond, like, they do space media too, absolutely, I'll tell that story. But I don't want to just tell a...
Sure, but in the new format, we don't have to interview them per se, in so much as
True.
give them a small, like, their part of the conversation
Correct.
is what they do, how they went about it, why they're doing it. Cool. Great.
Here's some
Jade, what do
space
you
news.
have? Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I like about the new format, is that we don't need to bring on people that are like experts in the field.
Right.
We can bring on you, actually. If someone in the community happens to be in studio and you just want to be part of our news roundtable and just talk about the news, and that's all you want to do, I don't see why not. I like adding new voices to the table. I think there's interest there. I think that's fun. I think we should do that. And these voices can be anyone. They don't have to be in industry either. And I think they shouldn't be in industry because we sometimes get stuck in our own echo chamber. And adding voices, no? What?
So, again, I'm going to bend and talk out of both sides of my mouth.
Go
here.
ahead.
So, they don't necessarily have to be in industry per se because, yeah, you get an outside perspective. However, I have noticed many people that I talk to literally in the industry do not necessarily always keep up on the industry itself.
Sure.
So you're already getting an outside perspective because all that is new to them.
Sure.
Right? So, yeah, no, they don't have to be in industry, but...
I'm not going to say no to in industry, but I'm also not going to say no to not in industry.
No,
especially if we have someone with that you want to see. Like if there's a... who would be out of industry?
Seth Green?
No. Orville, creator of the Orville does...
Oh, the other Seth.
Seth Meyers, Seth...
Seth Green is a perfectly fine example, by the way.
That's fine, but that's not who I was thinking of.
Doesn't matter. It's a perfectly fine example.
MacFarlane.
You can still tell the rest.
Seth MacFarlane. Thank you.
Don't give him the answer.
Thank
you can give
Dada.
out the rest of the story based off of my perfectly fine example.
I know, but I prefer my example. So.
I don't like your
Mommy and daddy fight.
I do. I think it's great.
But I feel like
It's extremely cathartic.
maybe I'm mistaken, but it feels like if we had Seth MacFarlane on set and we were nerding, he's not in industry, but he would still be interesting. I think he would be interesting to people.
He works with Neil deGrasse Tyson on Cosmos.
But that's not in industry.
How is that not in industry?
He doesn't work on rocket. He doesn't work at SpaceX. He works at freaking South Park. He doesn't work.
You don't have to work at an
I make
aerospace
coffee.
company to be in the industry.
Thank you.
The industry is interest in space.
Well,
if he's working on a TV show that's promoting excitement in space, is that not the industry?
Not proper.
That's the same thing we're doing.
We're not directly, but we.
I'm watching Ben's brain break trying to
No.
get out of this.
He did one Cosmos series, and that's done now. What he's doing now,
Second one.
whatever, short snippets. So then he left. So all right, fine. When
Cool,
he's
I
doing
used to work
Cosmos,
for
he's
an
in the
aeros-
industry. Cool. He's not doing that anymore. Now he's doing sci-fi. Is he still in industry with sci-fi? He's not in industry with sci-fi. So he's jumping from job to job.
I feel like that's tangential. I'm not saying it is. It's involved.
by that same.
But he.
Then you work in aerospace
Is this the
because
common line of industry?
Yeah, this might be the common line of industry. Like, where is that line? And apparently I'm at 100 kilometers and he's at 80.
I do work in aerospace because I've done things for aerospace companies that go into aerospace things.
See, that seems like it's parallel to industry or next to industry, but like not directly in. So I think this is a lot of gray, not black and white.
There is a lot of gray, and and there's no black and white in anything.
That's
say,
fine,
like,
but I think
50
this is
shades?
very, very. I would say this is like 50 shades of gray.
Can we bump that to 255? Because I feel very uncomfortable with the 50 shades reference. But no, I mean,
Not as. All right. Doesn't work in traditional what you would consider aerospace industry.
Cool.
How's that?
Great.
Is the
Even
qualifier better for everyone now?
Just saying.
I think to your point though that having them on as a guest as the focus.
Go in there and wait for me. I'll be right there. I think that
Having a guest on that does social media, blah blah blah, as the focus of a show, is not the right thing for tomorrow. However, like you said, having them come in and be a voice on tomorrow. So
Yeah, so they're not.
Tim Dodd came and did news. It was fantastic to have Tim Dodd do news, but we weren't interviewing Tim Dodd about being Tim Dodd
Right.
except for that one time.
But I think even if we were to bring on Tim Dodd and we hadn't had him on previously, which I think Tim is actually a really decent example, I think giving him a conversation, right? So
Yeah.
he has he gets his 5 minutes, like Jay gets her 5 minutes,
Right.
like Sarah gets her 5 minutes, like Mike gets his 27 minutes. Joke. It's a joke. Yeah, but I think doing that instead of a 30-minute interview,
Right.
I think still works very well and dynamically in this.
We continue with the news.
Yeah.
It's just a different voice in the news, and it's
Yes.
just different for that 1 week.
Right, so
I think that adds some
In that
excitement.
way, you can add social media people very easily.
And that's and that's part of what I like about this new format is it allows us to bring in new voices that we otherwise would have rejected because what you said, it wouldn't be a good interview, but it might be a good voice to the show. as a one-time kind of thing, or maybe onesie-twosies kind of thing. So I think there's cool stuff there. And Stand for Liberty, someone like Seth MacFarlane would bring in other people who would not discover tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's good too, right? So bringing on people like Seth MacFarlane, to a much lesser extent, Seth Green.
There's nothing wrong with Seth Green.
Just giving you shit. She has a what is it, like a celebrity crush on Seth Green, and so I'm required.
No, you're not.
Required.
And it's not because he's a ginger. I just want to be really clear about that.
All right. Anything else, or are we wrapping up? This has been a 2-hour hangout. Did everyone have fun, by the way? I hope you all had fun and learned something. I know I was a little bit chaotic, but I enjoy these. I need to do them more often, I know. But
Paul,
something time.
Seth would bring in many new voices all at once.
And little dolls.
We just give him finger puppets.
Part of me wants to see Tomorrow Robot Chicken Edition. I'm not sure how that would turn out, and I feel like poorly for me, and probably pretty well for everyone else.
I know a couple people that have worked on Robot Chicken.
You would be so proud of me last night. I did really great impressions of the majority of my staff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was super proud of me.
Can you do an impression of me?
And some of our customers.
Can you do an impression of me?
I always do impressions of you.
All right, ready, go. Do one now.
No, I'm not on the spot.
Ready,
What the
go.
hell are you talking about?
Ready, go.
Ready, go. No,
That's a good one.
thanks. It's the most immediate.
Ready, go.
I hate you.
All right. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Stuff and things. Let me know what else you would like to see in some of these hangouts. What would make them better for you in the future? Hopefully we interacted enough with you. And yeah, we're gonna. I think we got some stuff back from you guys. I think it was kind of fun. I'm interested in the idea of breaking off Capcom again and trying that. We did try it before, but giving Carrie Ann like a microphone and bing bing bing. Oh no, the Quindar tonas. I think.
Yeah.
Beep. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't know how to make that noise
Family Guy
go.
does the news.
Yeah. Oh God.
Say Will.
Will.
Say Wheaton.
Wheaton.
You always screwed this up.
I know.
don't know how you do that.
I know. Try again. Start again.
Say Will.
Will.
Say Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Say Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Very good. Stupid. I don't think Stewie's going to be doing the news at all.
Thanks for that, Fedman.
All right. On that note, thank you everyone so much for joining us. See you next week. Last show of the year. Should be a lot of fun.
Yay.
Bye.
Hit the button. What are you doing?